In the following video, we are going to look at an exercise on how to solve simple equations. Now, when we're doing these problems, you may think those are not simple, but when I use the word simple, I mean simple in the process. And that's why it's important you understand the approach you use when solving an equation. Before you move things left and right, you want to make sure it's as simplified as it can be on the left side and the right side. So if I take a look at the first problem, 3 times the quantity x minus 6 minus 5 times the quantity x plus 4 equals 6. I look at this and I see, well, I can distribute the 3 into the parentheses. I can distribute the negative 5 into the parentheses. So I get 3x minus 18 minus 5x minus 20 equals 6. Now, after I distribute, I take a look, well, there's a 3x, there's a negative 5x. I can combine those together to get negative 2x. There's a negative 18, a negative 20. Combine those to get a negative 38 equals 6. And so I would now finish my process in solving, remove any constants. And so I have a negative 38. I would add that to the left and the right side. So I get negative 2x equals 44. And then get rid of the coefficient, which here I would divide by a negative 2. And so 44 divided by a negative 2 is a negative 22. And that is my answer. If I take a look at number 2, it's a little bit trickier because here I see I have 5/3 x plus 7 equals 22. My coefficient for the variable is 5/3. And so we're going to understand the process we use for solving this because a lot of times you're told, oh, divide by the coefficient. This is going to be a little bit different. So the first thing we want to do is, can we simplify any further? And I can, you know, by variable term, like constant equal to a number, you can't simplify any further. So now you solve, you move your constants and you get the variable isolated. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. And that's going to give me 5/3 x equals 15. And so now I need to get rid of my coefficient. And the whole point when solving, and this sounds very trivial, but it makes sense if you just think about it. When you're solving, you want your last statement to be x equals or your variable equals. And the reason why I say that is because what is the coefficient for my x? And that's the coefficient 1. And so I want to change this number to 1. And so people say, oh, divide by 5/3. Don't do that. Dividing by fraction makes it complicated. You're going to find out it gets harder the further you go along. So we need to figure out what is the appropriate way to get rid of a fraction coefficient. And what you do is you multiply by the reciprocal because 5/3 means technically you're multiplying by 5. And so I'm going to put fraction bar for divide by 5. In the fraction bar, I'm dividing by 3, which means I should multiply by 3. And so the reciprocal of 5/3 is actually the flipped fraction, 3/5. If I multiply by that on the left side, I'm going to have to multiply by that on the right side as well. And what happens is, the 3 and the 3 cancel. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. I get my coefficient of 1 here. And so that is what you do to get rid of a fraction coefficient, is you multiply by the reciprocal for it. And so now I go through and find out what is 15 times 3/5. Easiest way to multiply an integer by a fraction is going to be to multiply the 15, the integer, by the 3. So 15 times 3, which is going to be 45. And then take into consideration the fraction, take in consideration the divided by 5. So 45 divided by 5 is 9. And so we have x equals 9 for our answer. And so these are our more simple equations for solving, not maybe simple when it comes to how many terms there are, but simple in understanding the process.